Hey guys, it's Charles back again with another prospect breakdown video. Last time I went through Kenny Clark, defensive tackle from UCLA. This time I'm going to go through Jonathan Allen, defensive line from Alabama, one of my favorite prospects in the upcoming draft class. He's a junior at Alabama. Last season he had 11 and a half sacks, former five-star recruit. He plays all over the defensive line, and I thought his game versus LSU would be a fun little quick breakdown. Uh, he didn't play too many snaps, but he got to make a positive impact on the game when he was in. And just a little background on Jonathan Allen. He's a guy who I've compared to Adrian Claiborne, uh, and I think that comparison works very well because they're both very athletic players, or at least athletic for their size, and one detriment that they both share in their game is that they both lack a sense of creativity in getting around blocks, getting through blocks, but their high end explosiveness allows them to make a lot of plays without being necessarily the most crafty play with their hands or with their technique. But when you have, upper shelf explosion, upper shelf athleticism for your density, you can still make some exciting plays, and that's kind of the player that Jonathan Allen is. So let's run through this tape real quick. And if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section or hit me up on Twitter at McDraft2 at MCDraft2. All right, here we go. We're going to play some half speed. So there he is, lined up over the center or shaded on the center, plays a guard. And even right here, you can see the flexibility that he has for being a 6'3", 280-pound defender. It's not much, but as he's moving over from the guard, right here, you can see that bend in his back, in his hips, as he's leaning forward, trying to make space where he can squeeze through this double team. He doesn't get there, but luckily, Tim Williams, who's another exciting Alabama product, cleans up the stack. And there you can see he's kind of moving with the quarterback, following his eyes, and then you can see this bend from another angle. Right there. You can see that he does have some bend and he does have some wiggle in his hips to try to split through that double team, but Tim Williams gets there before he has to do anything. And this play is kind of a wash because he didn't know the call. It seems like the whole defense is a little bit unorganized, so this is kind of nothing. But it was a great catch by LSU receiver Travis Duvall. Great high point. Good catch in double coverage. And this is one area of his game that he does need to work on a little bit. Sometimes he's a bit slow off the snap, and his base is off right here. You can see that his left foot is way above his right foot as he comes out of his stance, and it kind of leaves him in a position where he can't generate the power in his hips the way that Vidal Alexander can. And when you're going against a offensive lineman who outweighs you by a good 30 or 40 pounds like he is in this situation, you need to be able to explode out of your stance. So we're going to run that back one more time. Explode out of your stance and get underneath the pads. So you can see, look at the helmet between look at their helmets between Jonathan Allen and Vidal Alexander. Allen is, he's, I mean, despite being 2 inches shorter, his helmet is at the same height as Alexander, and that's gonna serve as a detriment to him as he gets blocked a few yards down the field. And look at the angle that his body's at right here. He's in a position where he's just doing everything he can to dig his cleats to the ground and not get blown off the ball. But Alexander's in a position where he's got his angle set, he's got his legs in position to drive, and he's just going to drive him, or he didn't drive him too far, but he got him in a position where you're just not going to make a play on the ball. And there he drives him off the field, 4 yards down, 4 yards down the field. This is a play that kind of encapsulates his skill set in in a play. So he does all right, getting off the snap, but you can see the lack of creativity. And when you're on an island like this, especially against a guard, going down the middle is not going to do anything for you here, especially if you're kind of a tweener in size at least, 6'3", 280, 284, 285, like he is. You need to work angles. You need to work half man, pick a side, work that side, and then try to make a move off there. And he's just kind of playing patty cake with offensive linemen, and that's not really going to do anything. But you can see as Brendan Harris starts to get away from the pocket, he does have that rare burst that you like to see out of defensive line prospects. You know, being able to close that ground against a scrambling quarterback at 280 pounds is that's an impressive display of athleticism. And it's plays like this where you can see the potential that he has, but you can also see the lack of creativity that he shows at the same time. Playing patty cake, nothing really going there, and then explode. So if you can get him into a coach like Rob Marinelli or even Dan Quinn is going to teach him how to use their hands, and then he could be a great pro. And here he is lined up on the end, and this is a great play by him, even if he's not making an impact here, to be wary of the read option. Because with Leonard Fournette and Brandon Harris, you always have to be wary of that 1-2 punch, inline read option, outside read option. You have to be ready for pretty much every running threat, and you can't be aggressive, come too far upfield, because then you're leaving a lane for Fournette to shoot down the sideline. So you have to stay home, force Brandon Harris to keep it, like he does, staying home. I mean, that's it. I mean, he really has no impact on this play, but just the ability to stay conscious and stay home is nice. As you can see, he's really not much of an edge rusher. He has flashed some ability to bend around the edge. If you go back and watch the Mississippi State game from last year, he beat the tackle around the edge by bending, but it was really more of a poor set by the tackle than it was a great set by him. And you can see he's not really a natural edge rusher. It's not his forte. So that's another way that he kind of compares to Adrian Claiborne. Neither of them are really going to make their bread and butter rushing on the edge, but if you can allow them to get into these nickel DT sets and strong sides defensive end roles in the underfronts like Jacksonville, Seattle, Atlanta run, then that's kind of how they're going to make their impact. And you can see, it's weird because when you talk about the transition from playing defensive end to defensive tackle, playing defensive end and pass rushing. It's like a ballet almost. You're dancing with the offensive tackle, trying to figure out where he's going to go, what moves you have to do, and you have a little bit more time to think about what you're gonna do with your hands. Am I going to speed rush, bull rush, chop inside, swim, rip? But on the inside, It's much quicker. It's like you're going from a ballet to a mosh pit, as my buddy Eric Stone always says. And for some reason, this is a guy that feels much more comfortable, you know, living in those chaotic moments than he does on the edge. And that's fine. We're trying to find players and put them in a position where they win. And if he feels more comfortable on the inside than the outside, then I'm pretty sure NFL teams are going to recognize that, and that's just where he's going to have to play. But with his size, it does put a little bit of hesitation on how many snaps you're going to put him in on your base sets for the NFL. And this is a situation where he does use his hands, and he does get a little bit of burst upfield. And even then, you can see the the explosion in his lower body. He comes off the line of scrimmage, disengages with the guard, and then just just accelerate a little bit and try to get in the quarterback's face with his hands. You can see the burst in his legs. Here he is playing defensive end against a tight end. Stays home on the read option. Just smart, disciplined football. Three-step drop. It's a little tough to make a if you're if you're not on the play side for a three-step drop at a shotgun. You're just probably not going to get there. Lined up at end again over the left tackle. Shows a good understanding of angles right here because you know LSU. You have to understand your opponent, and you have to know that LSU is just really not a threat to pass the ball at all. As we saw from Baron Harrison this game, I think he went 6 for 19 for 2 picks or something like that. So you're you're gonna have to be mindful of your run fits first. Even I mean, really on every down, but especially on 1st and 10. So if you're playing the run first, he sees that the tackle is going is playing the reach block action, coming out with a wide set, hands in position to punch and reach his outside shoulder right here. You gotta be mindful of that. So he does play that well. And if you're playing run first, like the whole defensive line is, because the pass threat just isn't there, that's fine. And as you see, he's incomplete pass. And here is a great example of technique. So if you're playing against teams that are going to run these outside zone and the stretch plays or even inside zone, you have to be wary of angles that offensive linemen are going to take and how they relate to you. And once you diagnose where the steps are coming, so you see offensive lineman, the ball is snapped, he's picking up that right foot, he's going right. So you have to do everything at all costs to protect your left shoulder. And you can see he mirrors right foot, left foot. While he does get shocked back a little bit, he's got his head inside of the offensive tackle's head, which means he's in good position to play the cutback lanes. He extends, and he's ready just in case Fournette decides to come back. You can see once you extend, that's that extension is a sign of upper body explosion, upper body strength, and he has control of the offensive tackle here, which puts him in a position to either shed if Fournette decides to bounce back, or toss if Fournette decides to cut back inside. It's great understanding of leverage, angles, hand usage, and just being prepared to stay home and be disciplined with your run fits. You can see this from another angle right here. Shock, extend, be patient, stay home. And great play by Ashawn Robinson to get in the backfield. One move that he is very comfortable using is his rip move. It, just like Adrian Claiborne, he has three moves that he's going to use. He's got his bull rush, his rip, and his push pull. And here he's going to use his rip move to get past the right guard, bully the center into a quarterback hit. And we'll see it from another angle real quick. There he is, lined up over the right guard. And look at the pad leverage, the pad leverage that he plays with here. He shields his back or shields his body with the rip, follows through very well, gets his arm over his head. And once you get your arm over your head, you can come up a little bit with your pad level because you've kept your chest clean from the opposing lineman's punch. You've gotten skinny to try to get through double teams. So really, from here, it's all about the explosion that you can show in your hips, your legs, just your lower body in general. Then he powers through the center, gets there to pummel Brandon Harrison to the ground. And these are the types of plays that really show you the athleticism that he does possess. Because a lot of the best defensive linemen are able to showcase their athleticism through contact. And to do that as an interior rusher on the inside, that's very impressive. And these are the type of splash plays that he makes really really make me fall in love with his game. He is Adrian Claiborne, and if you use him correctly at the next level, he can be a guy who's going to be a dangerous interior rusher and a guy who's going to make splash plays on second and long, third and long situations. Here he's lined up on the end. And here he is a little bit more decisive with his moves. See, I mean, he's not as comfortable rushing off the edge as he is from the interior, but when he does commit, he does take a bit of an odd angle, but he's committing to the outside, and he's really going two gaps over because he's in the or one gap over, but he's lined up in the almost in the B gap on the inside shoulder of the tackle, and he's moving just a jab step outside, and you can see the burst that he has to get up the field. He has some bend in his hips right there. He's got his leg in an angle to fight through contact. The other leg ready to pound and burst inside. And he gets there to disrupt Harris for the quarterback hurry. And if you're gonna offer the interior rushing ability like we saw here, and pair that with flashes of exterior rushing, like he does here versus left tackle, then that versatility is going to help him get onto the early day two part of the draft. And he's not a perfect prospect by any means, but there are guys that you just fall in love with for various, for various reasons, and the versatility inside, outside, the explosion, the ability to bull rush, push, pull, rip. I really like his game. And I understand that he's not going to be a guy you want on the field every single play at the NFL, but if you maximize his abilities and put him in spots where he's going to win, he can be a very productive player for you in, playing 45, 50, 60% of the snaps. And this is a great play end to end this session. He sees that the tackle is not looking at him, so you got to be prepared for the fullback coming behind. He takes on the fullback, stands him up, sheds, and plugs the hole for the tackle. And it's weird because we've seen guys in the past that will get ragdolled by tight ends and fullbacks, and you don't want to see that at all if you're going to be considered even a day two prospect as a defensive lineman. And if you're going to get in there and you plug the hole near the goal line, no matter who you're going against, that's a sign of talent within itself. And also this is a great signifier of raw strength as he stands up the fullback, doesn't even budge, and then just falls on top of the pile. So yeah, that's gonna end this session with Jonathan Allen from Alabama. Like I said, I think he's a really intriguing prospect. On day two of the draft, he's got the ability to play inside, outside, be disruptive from both, even though I feel like he's more comfortable on the inside. And that's not even a knock because interior disruption, interior pressure at times can be more valuable than exterior pressure, exterior disruption. So, if he can keep up his level of play and test well at the combine, I think he's a guy that we could see go very well on. I would go very early on day two of the draft. Probably just outside round one, top 40, top 45. And if you can get a guy who can have that Adrian Claiborne impact without the same first round expectations, then I think a lot of teams will be happy where they pick him. If they pick him in the right range, because Adrian Claiborne, he's had the ability to be a good pro, but I think the first round aspirations have put a little bit of a damper on his career. And if you allow Jonathan Allen to come in without those same expectations, you can have a guy who's going to be a very good pro for your organization for a chock full of years. So shout out to Draft Breakdown as usual for having these clips available. Uh, Shout out to Rolo Edis for making this cut. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.